Welcome to Fact or Freestyle.
People love Dave Nourie, and they always answer the phone when he calls. When we get him on Zoom, we ask him to confirm rumors.
Let's see how far down the rabbit hole we go.
I just think being a pro rider, I think you have a real good idea. I think if you're honest with yourself, because what you guys are doing, there's not like a million kids in this world that can do that. So I think you're probably pretty solid. If you think you did it and you're riding with these pros all the time and competing,
Well,
does that make sense?
That was actually a very satisfying answer, and that was one that I don't think we got anything close to that up to this point, Dave.
No, I don't think so. I think everyone just kind of played the, well, really, who cares? But I think RL's point is that you should care for yourself, and it's all like ride for yourself and do it for yourself.
Well, and just because it's not important to me doesn't mean it shouldn't be important to you. I mean, the lines of my bike that I'm riding is really important to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you guys might not give a shit. So, but if it's important to you, it's important to you, and it matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, that was a very satisfying segment.
Now, I'm trying to read you, Joe, and I know you're the type that sits back and you really think. You obviously are educated and you really think about answering with the best word that fits in that sentence, And I'm just wondering, I'm completely OCD and over the edge sometimes, I'm wondering, are you OCD-ish? Are you perfectionist? Where does
Well, I would say I'm trying to make really funny content, and so that so that forces.
Come on, man.
Because
we're being truthful here.
Content. No, seriously. I have it like to my bone marrow. I wake up and try to make jokes. Now, I haven't always been in the funniest of circumstances, the most enjoyable of circumstances. But once I figured out how to get like an enjoyable life, then I was just like, wait a second, I could make people around me feel bad, or I can make people around me feel like uplifted. And then it's just like heating a pool. Like you're either going to pee in the pool and you're going to make everyone miserable and coat them in pee, or you're going to heat the pool and everyone's going to be swimming in the same stoke. And then when everyone swims in the same stoke, the stoke gets bigger. So it's like the stoke multiplying factor. And that's what I do. And I pay attention to sort of the way you deliver a line, and I tune it. And then also, quite frankly, I in my professional life, I do research and advisory in the tech space, and I have to talk to executives, which means I have 2 sentences before they look down at their phones. And so there's some of that, but I really think that it was the joking that got me to the point where I could do my job.
But this thinking process you have, do you obsess over it ever?
There is interesting. You should ask. So I was the first. I was the oldest rookie professional.
It just stopped.
Amateur class when I was.
Can you repeat
one?
Yeah, it just paused. We just lost you for a second.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I was the first. Sorry. I hold the title as the oldest rookie professional extreme athlete in history when James McGraw threw me out of amateur class when I was 41 years old, and that was at the end of 2014. So then in 2015. I knew that I had to compete against Alex Jumelin and all these guys. And so I started a really strict training regimen, but my consistency fell down. And I went to see a sports psychologist. There's a guy who wrote Sports Psychology for Dummies, and he lives in Columbus. And I went to see him, and he asked me to describe my training regimen. I told him, I said, I've got a scorecard. I see 1 out of 10, however many out of 10. And he goes, hold on a second. Describe to me what happens when you gel, when you fall. And I told him, I said, it feels like I can't feel anything anymore. I lose the sense of gravity, because, you know, when you're doing something, like, you use the feedback of your body, like the centrifugal force. I said, I can't feel it. He goes, here's what I think is going on. When you are tracking how many things you hit, you're on the left side of your brain. Athletic performance is on the right. And as it turns out, the synapse, the path is longer on the left-hand side. So you need to go right-brained. And so I looked at him, I says, Doc, what you're telling me is, if I am irrational,
Oh, I love this.
silly,
Yeah.
ridiculous, then I'll ride better? Bro, I got this. And that's when I went full tilt into making jokes. I was inventing tricks and using
Okay.
like Trictionary, or like a taxonomy
Yes.
of trick names. Ridiculous.
Well, and wait just a second, Joe. And then, like, I met Joe in 2016, and I started competing on the AFA circuit. James McGrath does that circuit. And so Joe says, Dave, I've got something for you. My
This
pro
is
run
true.
is coming up in like 2 more rides. When I go out there and I'm going to do a backyard, I'm going to do a no-handed backyard, and I need you to come up and spin the tight, right? Spin the bars. Is that what I did? Or
Spin
did
the bars. You spun
yeah,
the bars.
spin the bars. So I'm like, Joe, in the middle of your run. Yeah. It's never been done, I don't think. I want you to go out there.
I
I
love
swear. And so for me, it's like, okay, I mean, it's all you. If I knock you off the bike, you know, let me
Yeah.
sign this waiver now, right?
Right.
He's like, no, it's fine. So we did that, and it went over great. Like, it was just perfect. I spun the bars. He did the trick. And again, it's like that creativity. And it's like what your doc said, using your right side of the brain, which is, you know,
Yeah.
that creativity side.
Yeah. That's
And that was
funny.
an NBD. That was never been done.
Oh my God. I love how your brain works, man. It's so unique and so obvious. But you know, I used to think about this sometimes when I was sick. I rode really good.
Mm.
You know, I'm like, I don't want to go ride. And I go ride. And it's because I think I'm going, oh, you're sick. And, you know, no one expects anything from you. And you take all that pressure off. And all of a sudden you're like, I never pulled that trick before, you know? So, yeah, the psychology can get really, really heavy. Oh, man. That's good. I love that, hearing that.
That's dope.
Do we have
So
any more?
that's what I
Factor
got.
Freestyle? Do you have any more,
No,
Joe?
I do. I have another.
Okay.
Can
I figured RL might have some. We might stir some stuff up.
Did you say you're competing in AFA?
Yeah, I haven't since I did one contest since the virus hit, and he did it online. I gotta say the whole online format's pretty challenging for me. But yeah, when I hit 50, I got this bug. I'm like, I want to go ride more. And I went to Montreal, I went to Canada, and I went to the guy that actually makes that peg, the Iggy peg. His name's Dub, amazing Canadian rider. If you haven't checked him out, you should. And entered the old school. So the first year, all I did was the old school class, and I did really well. And a funny story about that is me and this guy, Bill Nitschke, you know Bill Nitschke?
Yeah.
Right, who did the Whopper. So
Yeah.
him and I were competing and back and forth, back and forth. James McGrath calls me on the phone a couple months before the contest, the finals. And so, like, I never competed. A little side note, I never competed like this one back in the 80s. I just did that because that's what Haro wanted me to do. I was all a
Right.
show rider, you know?
Yeah.
But now the game was a little different. I was like, I need to, like, not necessarily prove myself, but prove that I'm still can
Worthy.
go out there and do a worthy contest run.
Right.
And I got sucked right into it, RL. I swear, I was just like practicing and learning new tricks and doing whatever I could, bringing back old tricks that I hadn't done for years, getting really dialed, and I did pretty well. So
Yeah.
James calls me on the phone, and he's like, Nourie, I just realized you and Bill Nitschke are tied in the points. And if you beat Bill Nitschke, you'll take the year-end title for AFA Old School 2016. And I'm like, really? Well, the timing was terrible. It was when I was just building this company with my stepson, and I spent all this time building this big truck, and like all I did was I listened to my music and visualized my contest run. My mom talked me about this, that there was some study that these basketball players did that, right?
Yeah.
So all I did was visualize all, like almost to the T. And sure enough, I go to Denver. It's called a Battle of the Rockies, or Battle in the Rockies. And I do my run. I was actually nursing a shoulder injury. Didn't stop me. I did a really good run and I got first place. Now here's what's interesting about the story. So I did my run, and Joe's laughing because you remembered all this. So, you do your run and you wait till the results at the end of the day, right? So midway through pros, because we're old school, pro is last, James comes across and says, Dave, I've got some bad news for you. And he's really upset. And I'm like, what? And keep in mind, I'm really just doing for the fun of it. I mean, there's no money in it. I'm just traveling, hanging out, meeting people like Joe, and just having a good time. But I did have this competitive edge that was kicking in. And he's like, well, when I told you that you were tied in the points, I actually forgot that there was some other contests that we did that were like a co-sponsor, or what do they call them, Joe, when they used to do
an affiliate. An
affiliate AFA. So there were some that Bill Nitschke went to down south, and they counted at points for the year end. And I never read the rule books. I never looked online. He's like, it's even online. I'm like, James, it's good. Like, I came here to beat Bill Nitschke because that's what I had to do. And that means I beat him, because the only reason he had that conversation was because I beat Bill Nitschke. I said, well, I want to battle because in my book, we're tied. And I beat him, so let's have a battle. And James was really uncomfortable about it. He's like, I don't know, Bill's a little upset and I'm like, whatever. So I talked to Bill, and Bill and I just agreed we're gonna have a battle. So we had a battle, and we basically did it where I did a trick and then he did a trick. We each had 2 minutes. And in the end, I looked at the routines, and he rode much better in the battle, and he got the title. So I felt good about it. But that's the kind of thing that, like, the contest just gets that excitement going again, for sure.
Wait, you had previously won. Didn't you say you won?
Yeah, I won the
contest, but not the year-end points.
For the year-end points, he won it for the year-end. Because basically it would have been a runoff, like what you did with McCoy. Bill Nitschke and I did a runoff, okay? But it was unofficial because he already had these points that were the affiliation AFA contest, which I didn't know about. But it was just so funny how it all played out. And then we did the battle, and we filmed it, and we put it on FaceTime, and we did everything, but it wasn't official. I mean, Bill had already had the title for the year end. So
I thought the guy said to you that if you won the contest, you would have number one.
Well, yeah, he said that to him 2 weeks earlier on the phone. But James McGraw is a wonderful guy. Very excited. But sometimes he misses the pieces of paper that add the other.
He didn't read his own rule book. He didn't read his own rule book.
It's true. So yeah.
Because of the 15-minute limit that YouTube has started to put on front hop tutorials for channels that have 10,000 followers of 50-plus-year-old men, we had to chop this in several parts. Get that? Anyway, tap the link above to go to the next show, because we had to cut this episode into several parts that you will have to re-weld together. Okay,